Hi, we're going to talk a little bit about solutions from above. I think it's probably worth mentioning, why do we actually even need creativity, or what kind of what kind of questions are we trying to answer? What are we really trying to solve here when we're looking at how creativity, the process, actually works? And I'm like pulling up my speaker notes right here, so got it. All right, so basically, I think if we were to survey all of the number of Snuggie knockoffs on Amazon.com, that we could probably see it's possible to actually achieve a modicum of success without actually being all that creative. You could generate positive cash flow and have another Snuggie. So when I talk about creativity that demands faith, then I guess it possibly means like, what kind of solutions are we looking to generate for what kinds of problems? Like the problem that Teresa is taking on, the fact that she wants to actually close prisons and have more old school cafes than prisons, that's the kind of solution that actually demands faith to be able to put together a strategy and a plan that can actually be something that this world hasn't seen yet. This is a model that we've all dined in restaurants, but we've never seen restaurants rescue people. So I guess let's talk really quickly about a quote / Bible verse from a guy named Solly, whose name is King Solomon. So he said in Ecclesiastes that there's nothing new under the sun. And this famous man that lived a long time ago said that there's nothing new under the sun. And I'm guessing he probably wasn't actually in the frame of mind thinking about how it related to creativity and innovation. But we're actually going to see from neurology and popular psychology that his theorem actually kind of holds when you look at creativity from a worldly perspective. His supposition is simply that everything that can be seen is only a recombination of that which has already been seen. So, neurologically speaking, let's take a look at what this actually looks like. This TV's there. It's so cool. Sorry. I'm like geeking out. I can't believe I'm here. There are essentially three areas of the brain that are responsible for creative thinking. There's the attentional control network, which you will see in the color that is green, and the imagination network, which is in the section that is red, and also obviously the attentional flexibility network. So the attentional control network helps us with like laser focus on a particular task. Like you guys paying attention to me talking right now, you're using the attentional control network. And actually, the attentional flexibility network has delegated control of the vast majority of the brain power to doing that. The imagination network is exactly what it says. Helps you to imagine things, both future and past. It's interesting, your past, you're not actually, when you're imagining them or engaging this side of your brain, you're not actually recalling events as they happened. You're reimagining how they, and that's how you can actually get people who are like, well, I had some completely different. He was wearing a red shirt, not a blue shirt, and it's because they actually looked back and in their mind they reimagined how it actually happened in the past. So the imagination network and the attentional flexibility network. It's like the Kubernetes of the brain. I work on Kubernetes a lot, so I just wanted to say that. But basically, it's the orchestrator of all of the other processes that are going on in your brain. So it's orchestrating the pods of the attentional control network and the imagination network. So those of you who are Kubernetes nerds, you'll get that joke. So a recent review of Rex and Jung and colleagues basically explained what might be happening in our brains when we get creative, or so to speak. It generally involves reducing the activation of the laser focus and moving into the imagination space. So like when you guys look down at your phones and lose your laser focus on my talk, it's okay. But just know that your attentional flexibility network is switching, and it's actually redirecting your focus somewhere else. So that is how it looks like, neurologically speaking, when you get creative. Now, the creative process, as it pertains to what it looks like from when you go to a business counselor and you're like, I need to get creative. My executive coach, it's $5,000 an hour. Like, all right, we're going to come up with a process for how to be creative. So there's actually a book called A Technique for Producing Ideas. It was by this guy, James Webb Young. And the first thing he said is an idea is nothing more or less than the new combination of old elements. So he's already agreeing with what that dude from 2,500 years ago said, which is basically there's nothing new under the sun. How could we ever expect to solve problems for which there already are not answers on this earth with only things that have already existed. And the second thing is the capacity to bring old elements into new combinations just depends on your ability to see relationships. Again, that statement essentially keeps us grounded in the fact that we'll only be able to do as good as what has already been seen. So I suppose then, if that's not really where we're going for creative, we should probably just look at what actually creativity is. So creativity, according to the Oxford English Dictionary, is the use of imagination or original ideas to create something or inventiveness. So imagination, we saw that word already. That was a few slides ago in the really cool picture of the brain. So the imagination, we know, actually, there's literally a physical process that goes on in our bodies when we imagine things. So this piece is actually already covered, physiologically speaking. But the original ideas was just directly contradicted by the previous statement, which is the only way to have a new idea is to recombine old things. So then where do we go for original ideas? You guys can probably see where I'm headed with this. I would posit that we probably can't go somewhere on this earth if everyone on this earth is just saying that the only place to find new ideas is to use everything that's already here and just smoosh it into a new pile. So creativity from above, whatever it is your proclivity is in terms of faith, I personally am Christian, so I will present this in a way that kind of makes sense to us. So we have a God. He is creative. He's very, very creative. Everything I can see, he made. It's pretty awesome, including me. I am like wildly digressing from my notes. I'm so sorry. It's probably worth mentioning, I was a math major in college, so what I'm going to be doing here is not proof by tautology. I'm not just going to assume something and then just say I'm correct. What I'm trying to do is say that this is sort of proof by, I guess, it gets the transitive property, I suppose, which is basically the whole thing I'm driving at is in order to engage creativity, in order to solve the problems of where there are no earthly solutions, we recognize that one, he's creative. Two, if you believe it, you are actually in him, making your nature his, yours, super awesome. You're stuck in him, he's stuck in you. I don't even want to figure out the physiology of that. But basically, you're seated in a place where he is. So you're by very nature creative when you're in alignment with him, which basically comes to my statement, which is the response to what King Solomon didn't have access to in his day, which is, you are not beneath the sun. I would allow this to sink in for just a moment because it's pretty awesome. It means that, assuming, again, that you believe it, if there's nothing new under the sun, it's actually a problem because you are not beneath the sun. So you're going to be able to pull creativity from a place that can't be seen and then produce it here in a place that can be seen. And by taking that and repossessing it and representing it, you can actually establish new creative patterns and realities that can then be recombined by other people and sold as Snuggies on Amazon.com. It's awesome. So, really, again, it's proof, evidence. Like I'm all for it. So, let's actually investigate this from a we need real proof about this. So, what I'm going to do is just share a few quick stories of people who are really faith-filled, who are really living on this earth or did live on this earth, and who were able to create or partner with their God in such a way that new realities became present, which I want to call story time. So, affectionately known as the plant doctor, sorry, I'm going to have to really read and focus. Affectionately known as the plant doctor, George Washington Carver's faith was a key component in his inventions. You guys all know who George Washington Carver was? It's an awesome dude. What was the plant? Peanut. The peanut. So he actually asked God, he goes, give me the secrets to the universe. And then God goes, here's a peanut. And he kind of felt like he got the shaft at first, but when he realized it, God actually opened his mind to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of uses of the peanuts, many of which I was actually stunned when I found out. He unlocked things other than peanut butter, which, praise God for peanut butter, every single morning for me. But cosmetics, paint, oil, marble, plywood, and even the dye used in Crayola crayons. Think about that for a moment. That's like when your kids are like scribbling all over the walls, you're like, that's peanut butter. All of his inventions he attributed obviously to God, because God actually opened up his mind enough to where he could see a reality that wasn't yet actually present in front of him, and he had the tools to be able to bring it into existence and then share it with others. The second was Gary Starkweather, who some of you, I'm sorry, I said that wrong, Weeder, darn it. He was the inventor of the laser printer, which for those of us who were ever in IT and had to fix a laser printer, you probably don't like this guy, but he was Christian. Anyway, we all wouldn't have jobs without a printer. So he basically encouraged believers to think biblically about their work, but he actually saw like the vision of the laser printer, if you can believe it, in his mind when he was praying about like, God, how do I show the world you're good? And he's like, give people stress about this printer. No, probably not. But basically what he said is like literally intrinsically, when your nature becomes his, all of a sudden you're going to be producing things that the world has yet to see because you're just in alignment with him, which is awesome. So practically speaking for me, so I'm a software engineer. I actually brought my colleague here, Austin. He'll probably wave or something. But Austin and I actually used to work together at a church in Reading. And we worked on a lot of projects together. And what we would do is we would usually just sit for like an hour or two in the morning. And we called it soaking, but basically sit with Holy Spirit. And we would say, show us like architectural dreams. Show us solutions to the problems that we're trying to solve. Give us like insights and wisdom. And we came up with some crazy stuff, some which we were like, I don't know about that. But some of the stuff we're actually using it today. Like when we first actually got to work on Kubernetes was back then. And we had, like, it wasn't a thing like it is now. For those of you that don't know, this is a tool that seems to be taking over the world in terms of IT awesomeness. Every developer uses it, and it was open sourced by Google. So, but that project started 4 years ago, and probably billions of years ago internally at Google. And what we would see are line numbers of things where we're like, okay, there's a problem right there, or like when our whole cluster went down at my little brother's wedding, and we were like, oh my Lord, why green finance cannot occur right now? This is not good. We would just literally start with like on the in front of everyone, just start praying. We're just like, okay, show us where it is. And Austin found it probably in about like 2 hours, which is incredible because we managed to actually recover for the whole day, which that's like never before. Anyway. That's really cool, is what I'm trying to say. It's trying to explain technical stuff really fast is just not smart. So what I'm driving at is the reality of all of this is that for those of us that are in him, there are things that God is showing you, or will show you if you ask, 'cause all you have to do is ask, that you're to bring to the world that haven't yet been seen. And the only way that we can get solutions to problems are the big ones of like poverty and famine and injustice and all of these things are if we're actually with him asking for solutions that don't come from this world. Because if we're expecting the solution to come from people in this world, then the best we're going to have is a counterfeit. It's kind of a bad word, but basically like it will solve most of the problem. It won't solve the whole problem holistically because that's the only way he knows how to solve things. So the final supposition is a bit of opportunity, which is where I basically make the call to action, and all of you guys go, yeah, we're going to do it. So, but basically, what I'm doing is inviting you guys into, if this moved you at all, or even if it was like, well, this is actually kind of interesting. What's a novel thought? So if any of this sort of moved you, I would say engage with your God. Engage with the person that you can talk to. And for the problems that are in front of you, from like how do I get my kid to keep his pants on through dinner for the last time, all the way up to how do I make sure that prisons are empty for the rest of eternity? These are the kinds of things where we actually are going to get solutions. And then we can actually make the world a better place and leave a positive impact. So anyway, That's my talk. I hope you guys liked it.